95% of all UFO sightings can be immediately identified. It's the 5% that give you the willies.
Whoa! Pilots chase them sometimes, but can't catch them. There are near misses between these things and commercial aircrafts.
And he saw the disc hovering.
These are very hard to dismiss, the handful of sightings.
A UFO in broad daylight near Paris.
We suddenly observed a very bright red-orange object. It was oval.
UFOs have interfered with missiles.
I saw something that defied logic.
Reported a strange craft, triangular in shape.
On the triangular-shaped craft.
Mystery craft being seen.
Dark metallic in appearance.
Flying craft. There's an orange orb.
Glowing orbs. A glowing orbs. A giant ball of light.
Glowing object.
Could be aliens.
Jesus says that Satan's ultimate goal is he's not only a murderer, and he's been one from the beginning, but he's also a liar and the father of all lies. Not some lies, not just he lies himself. Ultimately, he is the father, the originator of all lies on the planet, right? I didn't say it, Jesus did. Now listen, that means in the context certainly that whatever undermines the truth about Jesus, about his mission here, about what he came to do, about who he is as the Son of God, and that it's only through him and his work on the cross is how we get to heaven. Whatever undermines that and leads people away, that's what Satan's all about. That's what he's talking about here, okay? He is all about lying and deceiving people specifically so they will remain his children, Satan's children, and not be set free by the truth of Jesus Christ. He is the father of all that stuff. Now here's the point, folks, believe it or not, that's precisely what the enemy is doing with the lie of the UFO and alien movement. It's not only clearly demonic in nature, it's a last days lie, just like Jesus said, to steer people away from the truth. The whole premise is built on a lie. If evolution, as we saw, cannot take place on this planet, then logically it cannot take place on any planet. Right? If evolution cannot happen here, it's not going to happen anywhere, which means right out of the gates, folks, with this whole premise of UFOs and aliens, we're being lied to. Something doesn't add up. It's all built on a lie called evolution. In fact, it's such an obvious lie that even the secular researchers admit, this doesn't agree with evolution. Something's wrong here.
When I got out in 1989, we had cataloged 57 different species. You have individuals that look very much like you and myself that could walk among us and you wouldn't even notice the difference, except for some of the things that they might be able to go ahead, even in a dark room, and touch an object and go ahead and identify what color that object might be. They would have a heightened sense of smell, sight, hearing. The situation is that you have various types of what we normally call grays. We didn't call them grays in the military, but you had at least 3 types of the grays. You had some that were much taller than we were. The unique thing that I'd like to point out for the most part is that the entities that we did catalog were in fact humanoid. Now this created a situation where the scientific community was trying to figure out why that would be the case, because you would expect that if life evolved on other planets that they would take on some type of other being, so to speak, not necessarily look humanoid or be bipedal such as we are. But apparently we got quite a few of the species out there that are humanoid in appearance. And that creates a question that yet has to be answered by science.
That's kind of weird. I'll answer that question for you that science doesn't want to answer. Why is it that it just so happens that these creatures, supposedly evolving all the way across the universe, they're all humanoid just like us every single time? The answer is because it's a lie. And we're being deceived. Okay? Think about it, folks. If evolution were true, and that's the quandary that he says the scientific community is in. If evolution were true, okay, and these guys were spawned from that, you would expect to get some random shape, random blob once in a while, right? If all of life supposedly came from some total random act of chance, we should get some variation in these creatures, but guess what? We don't. They all have to be humanoid, just like us. I'm telling you, folks, it may seem minor, but this is your first clue that something is wrong here. We are being set up for something. Even they admit it, it doesn't stack up. The whole premise of UFOs and aliens is built on a lie called evolution, okay? As we already saw in our text, who is the father of all lies on the planet? Satan, folks. So that's why I wanted to open up with that text. I'm not making this up, okay? And listen, when you put this together, you realize just how dark, how deceptive, how cunning, how slowly, methodically the enemy has been working to get us to fall for this last days lie of UFOs. Listen, he first had to get the whole world to turn away from Judeo-Christianity and to buy into the lie of evolution. The big problem is not what they are, it's who they are. He said the key is to their theology, i.e. what they're teaching. Pay attention to it. That tells you their identity. He said they're all saying the same thing. You come all the way across the universe and you badmouth the Bible. Not some other, quote, religious book out there, but it's all about bad-mouthing the Bible. He says, in other words, it's a supernatural manifestation, which Christianity calls demonic. And I love this point from John Ankerberg. He says, in light of the messages given by UFO entities, how credible is it to think that literally thousands of genuine extraterrestrials would fly millions and billions of light years just to teach New Age philosophy, deny Christianity, and support the occult? Why would they do this with the preponderance of such activity already occurring on this planet? And why would they consistently lie about things which we know are true? And why would they purposely deceive their contacts? Well, I agree, John, and I'll give you the answer. It's because they're demons. That's what demons do. They lie and they propagate false teachings just like their follower Satan.
God doesn't live outside of you. God is you.
While J.Z. Knight is among the more successful mediums, she is certainly not alone. A nearly identical doctrine is preached from a series of channelers who believe they are in communication with extraterrestrial spirits from other planets and galaxies. In the documentary UFOs and Channeling, the late actor Telly Savalas reveals that the purpose of channeling these alien entities is entirely consistent with the purpose of the New Thought New Age movement, to change the thinking of mankind.
Tonight, we're going to show you some film that may change the way you think about life.
UFO experts are now saying this is secular researchers. They are now saying that these beings are not coming from outer space, far across the universe. They said they're coming from inner space. They're coming from another dimensions, and that just happens to be what the angels and demons do. Interesting. In fact, they say there's no need to entertain this thought that they're coming from outside Earth. Listen to this. This is secular researchers, and this is Flying Saucer Review, folks. This is a secular entity. Gordon Creighton, the editor, he said, quote, there seems to be no evidence yet that any of these craft or beings originate from where? Outer space, okay? Brad Steiger says, we are dealing with a multidimensional paraphysical phenomenon, which is largely indigenous to where? Planet Earth. And finally, Arthur C. Clarke, he says, one theory that can no longer be taken very seriously is that UFOs are what? Interstellar spaceships, i.e. that they come from outer space. We should not even entertain that idea because that's not what the secular researchers have witnessed over decades of research. We are dealing with a yet unrecognized level of consciousness independent of man, but closely linked to the earth. I do not believe anymore secular research that UFOs are simply the spacecraft of some race of extraterrestrial visitors. This notion is too simplistic to explain their appearance, the frequency of their manifestations through recorded history, and an impressive parallel can be made between UFO occupants and the popular conceptions of what? Demons. That's secular research, folks. And he goes on. He says the medical examination to which abductees are said to have been subjected to, often accompanied by sadistic manipulation, listen, is reminiscent of the medieval tales of encounters with who? demons. He says, in fact, the symbolic display seen by the abductees is identical to the type of initiations ritual or astral voyage that is embedded in the occult traditions of every culture on the planet. He says, thus, the structure of abduction stories is identical to occult initiation rituals. UFO researcher Lynn Cato said, a large part of the available UFO literature is closely linked with mysticism and the metaphysical, not science. He said it deals with subjects like mental telepathy, automatic writing, and invisible entities, as well as phenomena like poltergeist or ghost manifestations or possession. Shocker. He says many of the UFO reports now being published in the popular press recount alleged incidences that are strikingly similar to demonic possession and psychic phenomena. Secular researcher Dr. Pierre Guin, he's one of the eminent ones in the French Council of Science research, says UFO behavior is more akin to what? Magic than it is to physics as we know it. He says the modern UFO knots and the demons of past days are probably what? Identical. And one more, John Keel, outside of Jacques Vallée, this guy's probably one of the most informed secular guys on the planet dealing with this topic. And here's what he says. He said the manifestations and occurrences described in this imposing literature on demonology are similar, if not entirely identical, to the UFO phenomena itself. The UFO manifestations seem to be, by and large, merely minor variations of the age-old demonological phenomenon.
My name is Joe Jordan, and I'm the State Section Director for the Mutual UFO Network for Brevard County, Florida. I'm also lead field investigator. When we get a call for an investigation, we take all the information we could over the phone, and then we send investigators out, sometimes myself, sometimes other investigators working with me, and we'd follow up to do an investigation report. To these people, they were sincere, they had sincere experiences, and they were looking, a lot of them looking for help, and they felt that being that we were involved as researchers and investigators, that we could be some help to them.
My name is Joyce Ahrens. I'm a floral designer. I was laying in the bed, my husband and I was laying on my right side. And all I could see, when I opened my eyes, all I could see was this red light above the window, and I could see my husband's shoulder, but I was like paralyzed. His skin looked like elephant skin. He had the big bulbous head with the big wraparound eyes.
As an honest researcher, I realized that I couldn't just count these people out, because the stuff that they had was so bizarre. Most of the researchers in the realm had said it wasn't possible to stop an experience. Knowing that, I called some of the leading researchers in the country. So I said, guys, I've got a very unusual case here. This man, we'll use the name Bill, and during his experience, in fear, he calls out, Jesus, 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 or Jesus, please help me. By calling out, he abruptly stops his abduction experience. These entities can be stopped in the name and authority of Jesus Christ.
Once down in Cocoa, this was after I accepted Jesus Christ, they tried to come. And I kept saying, no, no, you're not doing this. And I took on the empowerment of Jesus Christ, and I stopped that.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. These are spiritual entities.
Taking on the empowerment of Jesus Christ puts a stop to a lot of things. And he's helped me a great deal. Thank you, Lord.
Barbara Marciniak, she's a famous New Age author and channeler, okay? And in her book, Bringers of Dawn, she documents what she claims extraterrestrials have told her from the star system Pleiades. And listen to, of all messages, of what they're saying. They say, first of all, there will be great shiftings within humanity on this planet. It will seem that great chaos and turmoil are forming, that nations are rising against each other in war, and that earthquakes are happening more frequently. Earth is shaking itself free. A certain realignment or adjustment period is to be expected. You know, Mother Earth is cleansing herself. It's the same lie. The people who what? Leave the planet during the time of earth changes do not fit here any longer, and they are stopping the harmony of the earth. You know, those nasty Christians. Okay? When the time comes that perhaps what? 20 million people leave the planet at one time, there will be a tremendous shift in consciousness for those who are remaining, or dare I say, left behind. That's the tip of the iceberg. Channeler Thelma Terrell, she goes by her spiritual name, Tuella. Okay, she wrote a book called Project World Evacuation. And here's what she shares these entities have told her. Quote, our rescue ships will be able to come in close enough in the twinkling of an eye. Notice how they pepper it with biblical terminology. Set the lifting beams in operation in a moment. And all over the globe where events warrant it, this will be the method of evacuation. Mankind will be lifted, levitated, shall we say, by the beams from our smaller ships. These smaller craft will in turn taxi the persons to the larger ships overhead, higher in the atmosphere, where there is ample space and quarters and supplies for millions of people. Don't worry about your loved ones. They'll take care of them. Huh? The great evacuation will come upon the world very suddenly. And one more, folks, various UFO channels, the same message they're lying to people. They say the cataclysms are all part of purifying the earth back to its millennium. You know, Mother Earth, again, cleansing herself. Now, they said there will be many visits from the galaxies by interdimensional beings. Yeah, they are. They're spiritual. They're demons. As from the Pleiades, to assist and in some cases rescue people and take them into higher places. Those are the flying machines that you have seen coming into your galaxies that have been preparing themselves for the last 40 years. Some never die on this earth, they say. These missing persons have already been taken, as their time was not up, and they were not meant to go through a demise. They went through a what? Not the rapture of the church. A liftoff from the UFOs. Wow. You got to put yourself in the enemy's shoes. He is a master of deceit. I mean, here you have an event that you cannot deny. Right? It really happened. Millions of people all over the world have suddenly disappeared. You can't put a spin on that one. And to make it even worse, it's only and specifically only Christians. And you would think after that event, the normal logical response for those left behind would be something like this. Oh, why didn't I listen to John? Why didn't I listen to my Christian friend or brother or sister or mother or coworker? Why didn't I listen? I've got to get right with God now. And you would think at the shock of the rapture that people in mass would get saved across the planet, right? Not anymore. This is how stinking evil the enemy is in these last days. Don't worry. All it's going to take, the rapture occurs, somebody gets up on the global news network, which we saw already is being built. Don't worry about your loved ones. Yes, they have disappeared. Cat's out of the bag. You guys know that for many decades now, the government has been hiding this truth from you, but UFOs are real. You were right. But we're concerned about you. We had to prepare you for this event, and we want to calm your fears across the globe that, listen, your loved ones, they're okay. It was our UFO space brothers. Your loved ones were not able to go into this new age of utopia that has now finally come across the planet. As you just saw in your news today, the antichrist himself, you're not supposed to know that. The peace has come for 7 years with Israel. We are now entering a time of peace like never before. Your loved ones are okay. There's ample quarters for them in the smaller UFOs, and we'll take care of them. They'll join us later as we continue to go. And in one fell swoop, that's not just an excuse. That's a brilliant one.
Stephen Hawking, astrophysicist and arguably one of the smartest people on the planet, warned us about the possibility of aliens from outer space.
Hawking says that if extraterrestrials visit us, the outcome might be similar to when Columbus landed in America. In other words, it didn't turn out too well for Native Americans.
Millions of people are going to disappear across the planet. And it will have nothing to do with UFOs. It is Jesus Christ coming back to get his church. And you could be one of them. If you would just cry out today and ask Jesus Christ to forgive you, you will be going